Grateful, material of happiness. Have you ever paused in the middle of a busy day and asked yourself, is this it? Is this all there is? We live in a world that constantly tells us we need more success, more money, more time. We scroll endlessly, compare constantly, and chase happiness like it's hiding behind the next big achievement. But what if it's not? What if happiness isn't something waiting for us at the end of a checklist? What if everything we've been searching for, peace, joy, meaning, has been here all along, quietly waiting to be noticed? This is not a fantasy. It's not wishful thinking. It's a revolution of perspective, and it starts with one simple truth: gratitude. Not the kind you say because you're supposed to. Not the polite thanks at the end of an email, but the kind that stops you in your tracks, the kind that wakes you up to the miracle of the ordinary. In this video, we're going to explore the hidden power of gratitude, through the timeless lens of Buddhist wisdom, and the cutting-edge insights of modern psychology. We'll hear stories of transformation, we'll reflect on suffering, and we'll learn how gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a way of seeing. So take a breath, set your worries down, and come with us on a journey that might just change how you live your life. Because maybe, just maybe, you already have everything you need. Imagine this: you're standing in front of a vast buffet, everything you could ever want is laid out, a feast of choices, flavors, textures, and yet, you're not full, you're not satisfied, you're already wondering, what else is there? This is the disease of more. It's not new, it's not rare, and it's not your fault. From the moment we're born, we are taught to reach, to strive, to hustle, to believe that happiness is always somewhere else, somewhere just out of reach: a new phone, a bigger apartment, a better title, a higher number in the bank. And when we get it, there's no celebration, no contentment, just a quiet whisper in the back of the mind: okay, what's next? Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, a mental trap where pleasure is temporary, and satisfaction is fleeting. You run and run, but never arrive. In Buddhism, this is known as tanha, craving. It's the thirst that drives suffering. It whispers, you are not enough. Your life is not enough. And we believe it, but here's the truth: craving doesn't just make us want more, it makes us blind to what we already have. You could be surrounded by love, but envy someone else's relationship. You could be healthy, but fixate on a wrinkle in the mirror. You could be safe, but feel like you're failing because you don't have what someone else posts online. We compare, we complain, we convince ourselves we're behind, in a race we never chose to run, and it steals from us. It steals presence, it steals peace, it steals gratitude. The Buddha didn't condemn desire itself. He taught us to understand it, to see clearly when desire becomes attachment, when wanting becomes suffering, when reaching becomes never arriving. And so, he pointed us to something radical. Something most of the world still doesn't believe. Contentment is the greatest wealth. Let that sink in. Not stocks, not crypto, not promotions or possessions. Contentment, the ability to sit with what is, to say, in this moment, this is enough. I am enough. That is the beginning of gratitude, that is the end of craving, and that is the doorway to peace. Let's take a moment, not to chase the future, but to understand what's already happening inside of you, inside your brain, because science has a story to tell, and it confirms what ancient wisdom has always known: gratitude doesn't just feel good, it actually changes your brain. Let's break that down. In a study at the University of California, Berkeley, researchers brought in people who were struggling with anxiety, depression, burnout. They asked just one group to write a letter of gratitude each week, nothing fancy. No need to send it, just write what they were thankful for. Weeks later, when they scanned the brains of these participants, they found something stunning. The medial prefrontal cortex, a region associated with decision-making, empathy, and emotional regulation, had literally lit up. People felt less depressed, less anxious, and even more connected to others, even if their external problems hadn't changed. That's the miracle. Gratitude doesn't require your life to be perfect, it transforms how your brain perceives your life. Think about that for a second. You don't have to earn peace, You don't have to fix everything before you feel okay. You just have to shift your awareness from what's missing to what's already here, and that shift, it rewires you, literally. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. When you practice gratitude, you train your brain to find what's good, to focus less on fear, less on scarcity, less on what's broken. Instead of living in survival mode, your body softens, your heart opens, your nervous system calms. And here's the wildest part, you don't even need something huge to feel this change. One clean glass of water, a warm ray of sunlight through the window, the sound of someone laughing across the room. These moments, so small we often miss them, can become medicine. Noticing them is mindfulness, appreciating them is gratitude, and together, they create happiness, not as a distant reward, but as a practice that begins right now. Buddhist teachings call this sati, mindfulness. It means remembering, not remembering the past, but remembering to be present, to remember the miracle of this breath, this heartbeat, this ordinary moment, which is, in truth, anything but ordinary. When we are truly alive, said Thich Nhat Hanh, everything we touch is a miracle. The science agrees. Let's go deeper. Story insert, optional, storytelling moment. Imagine a woman named Anna. She's lost her job. She's caring for her elderly father. Her days feel like a storm she can't escape, and then, one morning, exhausted and numb, she sits down with a notebook and writes, "Today, I'm grateful that my father remembered my name." That's it, one sentence. One breath of clarity, and for the first time in days, she cries, not from sorrow, but from presence. Gratitude didn't fix her life, but it broke the trance of despair, and that was enough. Back to science. In another study, people who practiced daily gratitude journaling slept better, experienced fewer headaches, had stronger immune responses, and even showed lower levels of inflammation. Yes, gratitude can reduce chronic stress. It lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. And when cortisol drops, your body can finally heal. Isn't that incredible? You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to move to a mountain. You just have to start noticing. Gratitude is free, but it makes you feel rich. Now think of this, in Buddhism, dukkha, the first noble truth, means suffering, but it also means unsatisfactoriness, a constant itch of discontent. Gratitude, then, is not the opposite of suffering, it's the antidote to dissatisfaction, not a cure that hides the pain, but a lamp that lets us see it clearly, without being consumed by it. When we practice gratitude, we are not pretending that everything is perfect. We are remembering that, even in the mess, there is beauty, there is kindness, there is breath, and sometimes, that is enough. So now you know, gratitude isn't just poetic, it's biological. It's not a nice idea, it's a powerful, practical way to train your mind, heal your body, and awaken your spirit. But here's the next question, if gratitude is so powerful, why is it so hard to practice, especially when life hurts? Let's be honest, gratitude is beautiful, until life falls apart, until grief knocks on your door, until the world seems to forget your name. We've all been there, that season when the sky stays gray, when the bed feels heavier than the world, when someone says, be grateful, and all you can feel is anger. Grateful for what? For pain? For loss? For this emptiness? It's in these moments, these dark nights of the soul, that gratitude can feel like a foreign language, distant, unrealistic, even offensive. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Thomas, a quiet father of two. Every Sunday morning, he'd sit at the kitchen table with his youngest daughter, Emma, and read stories over pancakes. It was their sacred ritual, until the accident, until the silence, until the Sunday that came, and the chair across from him was empty. He tried to be strong, he went to work, he smiled at neighbors, but inside, he was hollowed out. One day, someone gently said, you should try gratitude. It helps. He nearly screamed, but later that night, alone in the dark, he sat with a pen, and wrote the words, I'm grateful for the time we had. He cried, not because it fixed the pain, but because, for a moment, it gave the pain meaning. Here's the truth no one tells you: gratitude doesn't erase grief, it sits beside it. It doesn't say, don't hurt. It says, yes, this hurts. And still, there is love. In Buddhist teachings, there is a concept called the two arrows. The first arrow is pain, unavoidable. Natural, the loss of a loved one. A breakup. A diagnosis, but the second arrow, that's the one we fire at ourselves: resentment. Blame. Bitterness, it's the voice that says, this shouldn't have happened. My life is ruined. There's nothing left. Gratitude, when practiced with gentleness, removes the second arrow. It allows the wound to breathe, not to disappear, but to heal. Modern psychologists agree. In trauma therapy, there is a technique called meaning reconstruction. When people experience devastating loss, they don't just need solutions, they need a story that helps them make sense of their pain, and gratitude, surprisingly, can be that story. It allows you to say, yes, I have suffered, and yet I have also known love. Yes, I lost, and yet I carry beautiful memories. Yes, the world hurt me, and yet I am still here. In a small village in Thailand, there lived a widow. Every evening, she would light a single candle for her husband, who passed away many winters ago. One day, a traveler asked her, "Why do you light the candle? Does it bring him back?" She smiled and said, "No. But it brings me back, to the love that never left." This is the power of quiet gratitude. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, like a candle in the dark. You see, the pain barrier is real. It's not weakness, it's part of being human, and if you've ever felt too broken to be grateful, you are not alone, and you are not wrong. But the practice of gratitude is not about denying your sadness, it's about discovering that, even in sorrow, there are sacred things worth holding: a kind word from a stranger, a breeze on your face, a single moment of stillness before sleep. These are not small, these are survival, these are what the Buddha called, the island within the storm. So, maybe now you understand, gratitude is not naive, it is brave, it is the quiet courage to see the light, even when your eyes are full of tears. But now, let's ask a deeper question: what if gratitude wasn't just a practice, but a path to freedom? Imagine this: you're carrying a backpack, but not just any backpack. This one is filled with everything you've clung to for years: your past regrets, your future fears, your achievements, your failures, every story you told yourself about who you should have been by now, and every day, you carry it, heavy, invisible, you don't even question it anymore. But what if you could take it off? That is what freedom looks like, and the surprising key that unlocks this freedom: gratitude. You see, in the Buddha's teachings, the path to liberation is not about escaping life, it's about transforming your relationship with it. He didn't promise eternal sunshine, he promised something better: peace with what is. And gratitude, real gratitude, isn't about pretending everything is good, it's about no longer being trapped by what you think is missing. One of the Buddha's central teachings is anicca, impermanence. Everything changes: your emotions, your relationships, your body, even the breath you just took, it's gone. When we resist this truth, we suffer, we cling, we demand, we obsess. But when we accept it, we begin to soften, to surrender, to see that life is not meant to be controlled, but received. And how do we receive something fully? With gratitude. Gratitude is the spiritual posture of someone who has stopped fighting reality, and started dancing with it. It is the mind whispering, "This moment may not be perfect, but it is mine. This body may ache, but it is alive. This life may be uncertain, but it is real." And in that acceptance comes liberation. A young monk once complained to his master, "Master, the rains are flooding my hut. My robe is soaked. My rice has spoiled, how can I feel peace?" The master smiled and said, "Then be grateful for the rain." The young monk looked confused, "But the rain is ruining everything." "No," said the master, "it is ruining what you expected, not what is. The rain is only the rain, it's your story about it that's causing your suffering. That night, the young monk sat in silence, rain falling, roof leaking, and for the first time, he smiled, because he understood, freedom isn't the absence of discomfort, it's the absence of resistance. In modern psychology, this mirrors what's known as radical acceptance. A practice that helps people reduce anxiety, pain, and trauma, by surrendering to the present moment, not because they like it, but because fighting it only deepens the wound, and what often follows radical acceptance, unexpectedly, gratitude, because once we stop demanding life to be different, we start noticing how much it already gives, the breath that still flows, the people who still care, the body that still carries you forward, even after all it's endured. Gratitude and letting go are two sides of the same coin. When you say, I am grateful for what I have, you are also saying, I release what I thought I needed. That is liberation. That is why the Buddha taught, let go of what has passed, let go of what may come, let go of what is happening now, don't try to figure anything out, don't try to make anything happen, relax, right now, and rest. Gratitude is not passive, it is an active choice to see clearly, to stop chasing, to stop clinging, to stop telling the story that, you'll only be happy when you get the job, when the relationship works, when the bank account grows, when the pain ends. That story is a prison. Gratitude is the key that opens the door. There's a true story of a man imprisoned for life, wrongfully accused. Years went by, then decades, and yet, his letters from prison weren't filled with rage, they were filled with poetry, descriptions of morning light through a tiny window, the way his tea would steam in winter, the quiet sound of a bird nesting outside the bars. Someone asked him how he could be so at peace. He replied, you can imprison my body, but not my eyes, and when they choose to see beauty, I am free. Gratitude is not about perfect circumstances, it is about perfect perception, and when you begin to see life through that lens, you begin to taste what the Buddha meant by nirvana. Not a place, but a state of mind, unbound by craving or fear. So maybe now you understand, gratitude is not just a virtue, it is a doorway, a way to unhook from suffering, a path back to the only place you'll ever find peace, here. Now. This breath, but how do we make this real, how do we live this? Every day. By now, we've walked through storms, we've sat in silence, we've touched grief, beauty, and freedom, but here's the final question, how do we live this? How do we carry gratitude, not just in our journal, not just in our prayers, but in our breath, actions, and being, because the truth is, gratitude is not a one-time emotion, it is a daily practice, a way of being, a subtle art of turning the ordinary into the sacred. Let's begin. Practice 1, the sacred pause, one breath, one. Thank you, we live in a world obsessed with speed, check the phone. Answer the email. Scroll, 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 but gratitude thrives in slowness, in stillness, so the first practice is simple. Stop. Breathe. Name one thing you're grateful for, just one breath, the warmth of your coffee, the softness of sunlight, the miracle of waking up. This is called the sacred pause, the moment where you reclaim your life from autopilot, one breath. One thank you, that's it, do this once a day, and your nervous system begins to soften, your mind begins to listen, your heart begins to open. Practice 2, mirror reflections. Thank you, self. Stand in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and whisper something radical. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trying. Most of us speak to ourselves like an enemy. Gratitude flips the script. It makes your own mind a safe place to return to. Modern psychology confirms this. Self-compassion, combined with gratitude, lowers cortisol, reduces anxiety, and builds emotional resilience. In Buddhism, this is metta, loving kindness, and it begins with you. Practice 3, the enough journal. Every evening, write down just 3 things from your day that you're grateful for, not extraordinary things, just simple, real, present things. The way the wind moved the trees. The smile from the barista. The fact that I made it through today. This journal isn't about recording perfection, it's about training your brain to see differently. Neuroscience shows that a consistent gratitude journal rewires the brain to scan for joy instead of threats. Over time, it shifts your emotional baseline. In Buddhist language, what you water grows. So water gratitude. Practice 4, morning dedication. Today, I choose, before you leave the bed. Before the phone, before the chaos, say one line to yourself. Today, I choose to see the beauty in what is. Or, today, I choose to respond, not react. Or, today, I choose gratitude over fear. This creates intention, and intention is the steering wheel of the mind. In Buddhist psychology, this is sankalpa, a heartfelt resolve. You are programming your day with sacred awareness. Practice 5, gratitude in suffering. Thank you, anyway, this is the hardest. And the most powerful. When something goes wrong, when plans fall apart, when life gets unfair, take a deep breath and softly say, thank you, anyway. Not because the pain is good, but because you are bigger than it. Because suffering is the soil where wisdom blooms. As the Zen master Shunryu Suzuki once said, thank you very much for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Even in chaos, there is still this breath, still this body, still this chance to choose love, that is sacred. Practice 6, the gratitude sit, 5-minute meditation. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Now, visualize 3 people, moments, or things you're thankful for. See them clearly, breathe them in, feel the warmth in your chest, then say inwardly, thank you. I do not take you for granted. Just 5 minutes. That's it. Research shows that just 5 minutes of focused gratitude meditation can lower blood pressure, reduce depression, and increase connection to others. This is no longer woo-woo. It is science-backed sacredness, and it's free, always available. Practice 7, acts of gratitude. Make it visible. Gratitude must leave your lips, your hands, your presence. So once a day, express it out loud. To someone, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for what you did. Your kindness meant something. Send the message. Write the note. Give the hug. Make your gratitude a bridge. In the Buddhist teachings, this is dana, the perfection of generosity, because gratitude kept inside eventually fades, but gratitude shared, it multiplies. There was an old man who sat on the same park bench every afternoon. One day, a teenager asked him, why do you always smile at people walking by? He said, because every person I smile at is one more moment I say, thank you, to life. That old man lived alone, had no family, no money, but his presence brightened that park for years. When he passed, strangers left candles and notes. One of them said, you were the only one who smiled at me this week. Thank you. This is how a grateful life changes the world. A grateful life is not about perfection, it's not about toxic positivity, it's not about pretending everything's okay, it's about choosing to see beauty alongside the mess, joy alongside sorrow, peace alongside uncertainty. It is the practice of awakening, in the middle of the ordinary, and slowly, miraculously, you'll realize, nothing was ever ordinary to begin with, so now we arrive at the end. Or maybe, the beginning. Let's bring everything together, the pain, the practice, the path, in one final reflection. What if gratitude wasn't just a practice, but the very material of happiness itself? What if the happiness we chase was never far away? What if it didn't come in the next paycheck, or the next relationship, or the next version of yourself? What if it was already here, hidden in plain sight, in the breath, the body, the moment? Gratitude is not a feeling you wait for, it is a choice you make, a perspective you practice, a way of seeing. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. And sometimes, more than enough. We've spent this journey unraveling the illusion of more. We've looked into the disease of always chasing, we've walked through stories of brokenness and light, we've seen how the smallest thank you can become a revolution of the soul. And now, here we are, Maybe you're sitting on your bed, maybe you're walking through traffic, maybe you're silently crying in a room no one else knows about. Wherever you are, pause, breathe, and listen closely, because underneath all your striving, your questions, your pain, your dreams, there is something still, something sacred, whispering. You are alive. You are breathing. You are already enough. In Buddhist teachings, gratitude isn't just an emotion, it is a spiritual awareness, a wisdom that sees beyond comparison, beyond craving, beyond self-pity. It sees into being, that nothing exists alone, that you are here because of 1,000 kindnesses you'll never repay, the farmer who grew your food, the stranger who held the door, the friend who forgave you, the parent who stayed. And when we see this, truly see it, gratitude is no longer optional, it becomes the only sane response to being alive. Gratitude rewires the brain, heals trauma, improves relationships, protects the heart from anxiety, and strengthens our ability to love, not just others, but ourselves. It is not just spiritual, it is biological, it is revolutionary. So, if you remember nothing else from this journey, remember this: gratitude is not about getting more, gratitude is about seeing more, in what you already have. Because once you see clearly, you realize, there is no such thing as an ordinary moment. There is no such thing as a small joy, there is no such thing as not enough. There is only this life, and this life, when met with gratitude, is more than enough. It is beautiful, it is sacred, it is yours. Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little, and if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick, and if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So, let us all be thankful. The Buddha. If this message touched something inside you, don't just think about it, live it, breathe it, be the reason someone else believes in kindness again, because when you live with a grateful heart, you don't just change your life, you change the world. This was Grateful, the Material of Happiness, and you were the reason it mattered. Thank you for listening, and above all, thank you for being here.